My name is Caitlin, and me and my husband have recently started our TTC Journey, and I just wanted to share some stuff. So, the first thing that I wanted to say is about my first time trying, which was a very complicated experience for me. We tried, a little more than we normally do. What do they call it? Baby danced. But just did a little more than we normally do, and one thing that I had a problem with is I have a very irregular cycle, so I didn't really know when I was going to be ovulating, and in December, when we started trying, I didn't have a period at all that month, so I didn't really know when my period was gonna come. And this was something very difficult because it made it really impossible to track my ovulation. But we started our journey on Christmas Day on the 25th, and we did like a special little thing, and we went on a date and celebrated, and it was Christmas and stuff like that as well. So we did that, and that was like the first time, and I had I had been emotionally working up to this place where I was ready to try to become a parent, and so I was like emotionally prepared, but it was like the first time, so there was a lot of anxiety and jitter and nerves. We tried quite frequently in January as well, but in January also some complicated things started to occur. So the very first thing is that even though I had skipped a period already from December, I skipped a period from January all of a sudden. And I normally don't skip periods like that. I normally at least have a period within a month, or at least on the border of a month. And it was really weird to me that I had not had a period all of December, or even towards the end of November. I had one like at the beginning of November, but not towards the end of November, not in December, and not until the very end of January. However, my experiences leading up to my period starting in the end of January were very, very frustrating. The first thing that I noticed is about 2 weeks after we had started trying, I noticed this pulling sensation in my uterus. It was like stretchy almost, like it felt like it was being stretched out. And it was like down in the lower abdomen area, and it was tucked up under. So that was kind of strange. I didn't really think a lot of it at the time, but I later went on to see that as my focal point of like, maybe this is when things started to occur, because after that I had massive fatigue, I had shortness of breath, I had a barrage of frequent urination, I had something else, nausea, morning nausea. My nipples started to hurt, and yeah, I had no spotting, no nothing that whole month other than just symptoms, and I wasn't sure what was going on. So first I tried to talk to my grandma about it, and she said she had never experienced these kinds of situations. And I asked my mom about it, and she said she had never experienced this type of situation. So I ended up asking my cousin about it, and she said that her pregnancy was kind of weird like that, and that essentially it did start off with nipple pain and only nipple pain on one side, and then kind of progressed into she took a test every day for 6 weeks, and it wasn't until the 6th week that she got a positive result. And so I was not sure what was going on, because I was like taking tests and stuff and they were all coming back negative, and I just kept being like, well, maybe I'm taking it too early and I'll just wait a little while longer. But I had a lot of anxiety about taking tests at that time, and it just really bothered me. Something wasn't right. It was weird and off, and my period wasn't there, but also there was all these symptoms and no positive pregnancy tests. So that was kind of weird. I'm not really sure why any of that happened, because towards the very end of the month, like the week that didn't go into December, or not December, it didn't go all the way into February, it was just the last week of the month, all of a sudden I start to spot. And I'm freaking out because I'm thinking like, oh shit, I thought I was pregnant. I thought, it was just not reading on the test yet. And that, if I waited a couple more weeks that I would read. Well, I didn't know what was going on, so I just was like, it could be a couple things. It could be a early term miscarriage. It could be that I'm just spotting, because my cousin had told me before that she had had a period during her pregnancy, and that made it confusing for her. When she found out she was pregnant, she was like, no way, I'm 6 weeks, I've had a period, and that's crazy. And but it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird that I started almost directly after she told me that. I started to spot, and I was freaking out, and I was really stressed out at the time, so I thought I was having a miscarriage, potential early term miscarriage. So I went into the ER, and they gave me another urine test, which I sometimes feel like they do routine habit things at the hospital to make people feel secure, and I didn't really feel secure, and I didn't really feel like anyone really had any answers for me. But they gave me a pelvic exam, and they said that they could see some blood in there, and they didn't know quite what was going on. And so just to give it a couple days, they tested me for a urinary tract infection, and I did not have a urinary tract infection. I didn't have any infection. I didn't have any STDs. I didn't have any ovarian cysts. So I don't know exactly why those symptoms were occurring. And then when I followed up with my doctor a little while later, she said it could have just been my ovaries too excited. One thing that I thought was interesting is when the nurse came in, she took my temperature, and she said that my temperature was slightly elevated, which that was weird to me, and that was something that was like kind of like, well, am I pregnant? Like, what the fuck's going on, And, then once my periods fully kicked in, because it was like really slow and tedious for a couple days, and it's normally not like that at all. Normally it's just like I'm spotting one for like half a day, and then it goes into a little bit of bleeding, and then it goes into like a river of bleeding, like a horror film. And so I was really confused for quite some time, and I just was like, okay, like by the end of it, my doctor agreed to give me a blood test, which ended up coming back negative, and I just like thought to myself, like, at the end of all of this, I'm going to take a pregnancy test a week from now, and I'm going to take a pregnancy test possibly a week after that, or I'm going to wait 2 weeks and take a pregnancy test. So I did that, and the pregnancy test came back negative. So I knew for a fact I was not pregnant. Around this time that this was occurring, my husband and I had just started to get back in the rhythm after all the confusion. This was maybe beginning of February that we had started to get back in the rhythm. And then the second to the last week of February, I was at my Monday classes, and I was at French class, and it had started to snow out, so it was already a weird situation. And we were supposed to have our required global ministry conference, which we needed a certain amount of credits for in order to obtain our degrees and to complete our school year. But they ended up cutting that down due to the snow week, so that's not that big of a deal, but that's just something that's happening at this time frame. So I get a call from my mom. Now, I'm the only one at this point trying to have a baby. I'm the only one in a situation that they feel they can at least manage to bring that into. I don't feel like I'm in like the most golden situation, but I feel like I'm in a good place where I can grow and expand and really at a place where we could build a firm foundation of what's going to happen and where we're going in our lives and stuff like that. And so, that's kind of where we're coming from. We are working with what we've got and doing what we've got, and I've been doing a lot of things to save money through this entire planning process and everything like that. I purchased a lot of my supplies in advance and stuff like that, which was wise for us economically. And then on top of all of that, something that really pissed me off was my mom was calling me this day. So I've been planning this for a really long time and getting emotionally prepared and, doing everything that I needed to do to get like my schooling done and stuff like that. And so I have been working really hard and sacrificing a lot of things to get to a point where I feel ready to take on the responsibility of becoming a parent for the first time. And so one of the things I was really excited about was the ability to make my mom a grandma for the first time. And essentially what ended up happening is, like, my dad was already a grandpa because my brother, the older of my younger brothers, on my dad's side had gotten married at least 3 years before me, and he had one child, and then he had a second child, and then there's this huge downward spiral and a divorce and all these complicated matters, and then in the middle of these complicated matters there was a third child. So I was really mad about that already, and I wasn't taking it to heart, but it was something that I was struggling with. Still, the whole situation wasn't an ideal situation for them, and I was really upset about the situation that they were in, and I was upset that there was nothing I could do to help. I had done everything that I felt like I could do. Sorry, my ear's like tickling. Yeah. Anyway, and so that has already happened, and my dad had already become a grandpa, not on a good note. Yeah, so me and my husband been married for a couple years now, 2 to 3 years, and I can't remember exactly right now. But so one of the things that bothered me about this was just part of my hopes and dreams was to be able to make my mom a grandma for the first time, and I had a lot of baggage surrounding that, so it was a way for me to kind of make up for the terrible childhood that I went through, the terrible existence that me being a child born out of wedlock really has. And I wanted my mom to become a grandma on good terms and to become a grandma on the right terms, but instead my mom called me on that snow day to let me know that she was going to be a grandma for the first time. And I immediately knew that it was my youngest brother and his girlfriend that were going to make her a grandma. And she has a pretty good relationship with my brother's girlfriend. They get along pretty well. And me and my mom don't always see eye to eye, so there's that weighted pressure on top of the whole situation with everything else. But the main thing that I was really upset about, which I was initially happy when she told me, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a grandma. I was like happy for her that she was gonna be a grandma. I was happy for my brother that he was gonna become a dad. I was happy for his girlfriend because I really like her. She's awesome. And I knew that the situation was also kind of confusing for them, so I was trying to be supportive and everything like that. But then it just kind of hit me, like, I can't make my mom a grandma for the first time. That excitement surrounding the fact that she's going to be a grandma for the first time, her going through a process of learning how to be a grandma for the first time, that doesn't get to be with me. And that's really hard, because it kind of feels like that's been stolen from me. Like, I was right there, I was headed towards the finish line. I was working hard at it. I was trying to figure things out, and I'm trying to win and get there. Like, it wasn't a competition at all. I was just trying, do my best and get to the finish line. And it just felt like my brother just appeared at the finish line, and he wasn't even jogging, he wasn't even entered in any sort of race or anything like that. It was, just me jogging on a track, and all of a sudden my brother's like winning the race, and I'm just like, I don't even, how is this happening? Like, how did this become God's plan for what was going to happen next? How did this become the thing that was going to happen? Because I'm the oldest, and I always get told how special it is that I am the oldest out of all my cousins, all my biological cousins, and it really hurts a lot that I don't get to share that with my child, that she doesn't, or he doesn't get to be the first grandchild on my mom's side or my dad's side. So it's a pretty big loss for me. It's very hard for me. Also, in my mind, I just thought, like, since I was a bastard and I got thrown into and perpetuated into such a terrible situation growing up, that I would be remedying all of the bad things that had happened to me, and I would be finally capable of healing from it by bringing everything full circle to on a positive note, instead of a negative note.
when my mom told me she was going to be a grandma for the first time, it just stripped all that away, and it did feel like it was stolen. And I felt very angry. Felt angry at the situation. I felt angry at God. I felt angry that he had let it happen to me. I felt like my experience was less special, and so that's really hard, because it was going to be like this amazing thing, and I was going to be able to, in my reveal to my mom, I was going to be able to tell her that she was going to be a grandma for the first time, and we were going to have that special moment. Wasn't in the cards. And that's really hard. It's like so hard, and I'm just really struggling to still deal with that. Like, that's still on my heart. I'm working through it, of course, but right now it's just really still on my heart. And so I needed some space, and to not try to just jump right into it, because I really just needed to figure me out. I was going through a lot of anger and guilt and regret, and like I was mourning the loss, I was going through all of the steps of mourning, of grief, and it was just so hard to have to put that kind of endearing, special thing that I thought, I was a shoo-in for, just have to put it behind me and just accept that I'll never have that. And it just feels so terrible, because there's so many other things that have gone wrong, but it just, some of them just feel like so open-ended, like anytime there's certain family members that could come back into my life anytime, there's friends that could come back into my life at any time, I could get a great job at any time, just everything else seemed like there was a possibility. And then this was just a closed off one-time deal that I thought I was gonna have, and then I didn't have it. So I needed time to really get over that.